birth. This is the suffering of this material world. Again and again, because within the mother's womb, the child suffers very much. Hospital, so many doctors, the suffering are increased. What is your opinion? It has reduced? No, it is increasing. You treat one disease, then next disease comes. Like Corona, when Corona came, the doctors even couldn't understand what to do with that. Because you have not studied enough. So many new diseases are coming and we are experimenting. We are giving this medicine, that medicine, and trying whether this will act. So that means everyone has to suffer from disease. We cannot avoid that. We want to remain always healthy, but disease would come. We have to suffer. Even doctors themselves are suffering. Doctors are also not free from diseases, though they're treating diseases, but they are also suffering. So this is the nature of this material world. And then comes old age. We all want to remain young all the time because we think young age we can enjoy life. But this young age is very short time. Then we will gradually become old. And when we become old, then we cannot walk properly, cannot sit properly, cannot eat properly. So many things will come. Even nowadays, the young people are becoming very old very quickly. They are becoming old. They have so many problems. So our lifestyle has changed. That's why we have to suffer. Small children, they are using specs. They cannot see. Their eyes is defective. From the very small child, they are using specs. But in old age, people used to use spectacle after the age of 40, at least. So things are changing very rapidly. And then comes death. No one wants death. But this is truth of life. Death will come. And we have to suffer from death. And we don't want all these things. But since we have a material body, that's why we have to go through these 4 stages. We are bound by this. If we would have no material body, then we would have not suffered. So when we are trying for spiritual enjoyment, that means that spiritual enjoyment, eternal enjoyment, will come when we will get a spiritual body. No material body anymore. Means no suffering. But whether is it possible to get a spiritual body? In spiritual body there is no birth, death, old age and disease. It is possible. How? By being related to this Supreme Spirit, Krishna. So when we chant Krishna's name, we serve Krishna, hear about Krishna, then our attention, our mind will go towards Krishna. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the essence of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has spoken in 2 verses. Who can say which are those 2 verses in Bhagavad Gita? At the end, Krishna is speaking the essence of Bhagavad Gita. You can try. You gave the contest recently, no? Okay, speak. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. Very well. So Krishna says that sarva dharman pariteja mang ekam saranam braja aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masucha. Because we are suffering in this material world due to our sinful reactions. And those sinful reactions are not only from this lifetime, from many, many past lifetimes. And you all know, you are all students of science. So what is Newton's third law? Every action has its equal and opposite reaction. So whenever we commit any sinful activity, then we will get its reaction. Equal and opposite reaction. We cannot get away from that. Sometimes people think, oh, I did this sinful activity and no one has seen, so I'll get rid of this reaction. No. Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart as Paramatma. And he knows our mind and he sees what we are doing. So we cannot get away from punishment if we perform any sinful activity. So, Krishna says that sarva dharman pariteja mang ekam saranam braja. Because we are suffering from our last sinful activities, and if we want to get rid of these sinful activities, Krishna says, you give up all different varieties of religion. Nowadays we see so many kinds of religion. People are bewildered. They don't know which path to follow, which is the right path. And sometimes taking that, many imposters, they pose as religious leaders. They pose as gurus. They pose as incarnations, God's incarnations. And then they cheat people, giving some concocted religion, which is not supported by Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any Vedic literatures. That way, people are being bewildered in this age of Kali. For the benefit of the whole world, that's why Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all Vedic literatures. We cannot study Vedas, Upanishads, we have no time, or we cannot even understand. So the gist is given in Bhagavad Gita in code language, sutras. You all study formula in chemistry. So the sutras are given here in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, you give up all different kinds of religions. Just surrender unto me. This is the supreme religion, to surrender to Krishna. And then if we surrender to Krishna, what benefit we will get? Then Krishna says, aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshisham. I will make you rid of all sinful reactions. you will get rid of all sinful reactions. That means your suffering will be over. You will become happy even while in this material world. But it all depends upon our surrender to Krishna. What percentage of surrender we have? In another verse, Krishna says, Ye yathamang prapadante tangs tatheva bhajamyaham. According to one's surrender, I will reciprocate. That means if you surrender 5%, 5% surrender to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate 5%. If you surrender 50%, Krishna will uh, give you result of 50%. But if you are 100% surrender, then Krishna will take full charge of you. He will take full care of you. So that depends upon us that how much we are surrendered to Krishna. Accordingly, we will get the result. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives all this knowledge about life, about the creation, about himself, about the living entity, the soul, the material body. He gives all knowledge in brief, in code language, in sutras, in Bhagavad Gita. So if we take time every day to study Bhagavad Gita, take out some time upliftment. So every day we should take lessons from Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita 1 sloka, 2 sloka, we should study sloka, then translation, and then purport. Everything we should read. Then we can understand that sloka properly and act on that platform. So Lord Krishna says, this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. So Lord Krishna is also warning us that those who are envious of Krishna, those who do not accept Krishna, there are many people like that. They don't accept Krishna. One time I was traveling by train and then I met one Pandit from Banaras. And you all know Varanasi is very famous for scholarship. So people are very learned there. So we talked about Bhagavad Gita. So that Pandit and myself, we were talking about Bhagavad Gita. So then that Pandit, the scholarly person from Varanasi, he tells me that Krishna has not spoken Bhagavad Gita. When a small child can also say, who has spoken Bhagavad Gita? Everyone knows Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita. But this Pandit, he is telling, after studying Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna has not spoken Bhagavad Gita. I was surprised to hear this. So then I asked him, who has spoken Bhagavad Gita then? Then he said, oh, God has spoken. Then I asked him that Krishna is not God. He said, no, Krishna is not God. Then I asked him, who is God? Then he said, Paramatma is God. But in the same Bhagavad Gita, after seeing the universal form of Krishna, Arjuna speaks to Krishna that Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhava Purusam Saswatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhu. So he said Param Brahma is God, but Arjuna addresses Krishna as Param Brahma. So you are Param Brahma, you are the supreme abode, Param Dhama. You are supremely pure. And Arjuna has seen Krishna's universal form. And he is speaking this. But this Pandit, he could not understand this. He speaks that Krishna is not Param Brahma. He is not God. So many people, they are envious of Krishna. That's why they don't accept Krishna. So we should not speak Bhagavad Gita to those type of people. So I immediately stopped talking to that Pandit. I did not discuss Bhagavad Gita anymore. As soon as he told me Krishna is not God. So he was felt offended, but I said, okay, let me feel like that. Because he is envious of Krishna. Why should we care for him? So anyway, then Krishna says that, okay, how long we can go? Okay, finish 5 minutes. Then Krishna says, Yaidam paramam guyam mad bhaktesu avidhasyati bhakting mai parakruta krutva mangeva sasya asansaya. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he